Hi everyone, so today I'm here to do a series review of The Vampire Academy by Richelle Mead. So I started off debating whether I was going to do separate reviews for books 2 to 6, and while I was writing my review for book 2 it just kind of turned into a series review because I had so much to say about this series as a whole that it just felt stupid to break it down book by book, because I could do a general overall review without reviewing any spoilers, so that's what I decided to do. So I do have a separate review for Vampire Academy and I will leave a link to that in the description box below, but this review is mainly going to be about books 2 to 6, which are Frostbite, Blood Promise, Spiritbound, and Last Sacrifice. After reading Vampire Academy in October, I was just so desperate to continue on with this series that I ordered them all in from my library, and they all arrived separately, but I wanted to wait until I had the rest of them so I could just power my way through the series, because I knew that if I didn't have one of the books and I'd finished the one before it, I was going to want it. So I thought it was a much better idea to just wait until I had them all to just power through them. Vampires haven't been my favourite paranormal creatures in years, but this series definitely rekindled my love for them. A vampire school, a kick-ass main character, awesome vampire powers, lots of action and fighting, and two extremely hot guys. What's not to love about this series? The fact that there were 3 different types of vampires kept everything interesting for me. I really liked learning about the differences between the Moroi and the Dampires, and also learning about the Strigoi. We were constantly learning about each of them throughout the series, and that's something that I really loved. Every time I finished a book in this series I was blown away, and then the next book would just be even better than the previous one, and that is an amazing thing about this series. Every next book in the series is much better than the previous one, but they're all fantastic. Every spare moment I had during the week and a half it took me to read this series was spent reading it, and I did absolutely nothing else. Rose is just one of those characters that I instantly loved. She's so feisty, badass, determined, protective, and just so damn awesome. It's really hard not to love her. Throughout the series my love for her grew. Rose would do anything to protect the people she loves and cares for, and she definitely showed that. Rose would go to extreme lengths to help her friends, but that's what I love and admire about her character. Lissa was a character that started to grow on me during the series. I wasn't a major fan of her in Vampire Academy, but as the series went on I started to really like her. Lissa grew stronger and more confident as the series went on, and she didn't rely on Rose as much to fight her battles for her. By the end of the series I did really admire Lissa. Dimitri and Christian have to be 2 of my favourite guys ever from a book. Both of them were badass and awesome in completely different ways. Dimitri is a guardian who teaches at St. Vladimir's. He's so focused and determined, strong, powerful, and he's extremely sexy. Whenever he called Rose Rosa, he had me swooning and my heart was melting, because Dimitri is just, there are no words for how amazing Dimitri is. Dimitri goes through a hell of a lot in this series, and there were times when I wanted to punch him in the face and maybe stake him through the heart because he was horrible, but he manages to pull through, and by the end of the series my love for Dimitri was as strong as ever. Christian is a Moroi whose parents willingly turned themselves into Strigoi and were killed. Christian is looked down upon most of the way through the series because of that fact, but Christian is determined to prove that he is nothing like his parents. He continually proves that throughout the series by helping fight against the Strigoi, and he's just amazing. He's so determined that he wants to help vampires fight Strigoi that people actually start to admire him. And Christian inspires a lot of Moroi to start using their powers to help vampires fight Strigoi. Christian may put on a snarky and arrogant front, but underneath he's just such a lovely person. Everything about the storyline in this series was awesome. There was never a dull moment in this series. Every time you thought everything was going to be okay and people would get to be happy, something else always came along and ruined it. I was basically on an emotional roller coaster the whole way through this series. The introduction of new characters, especially Sydney, Adrian and Abe, kept this series interesting as well, because I just adored learning about all these new characters and finding out what they had to add to the story. The ending of Shadow Kiss destroyed me, and I was frantically searching through Blood Promise for a hint of something that would make me feel a bit better before I could even bring myself to properly read it. I can't even begin to describe half the emotions I went through while reading this series. But I will say that this series made me laugh, smile and cry, and I loved every single second of it. Last Sacrifice was definitely my favourite book of the series, and I'm so glad that the last book was the one I enjoyed the most. The ending of the series was just perfect, but it makes me want to cry because I just want more. I want more Rose and Lissa, Rose and Dimitri, Lissa and Christian, and I just want more Sydney and Adrian, which is why I'm going to be starting on the Bloodline series. I seriously can't believe I waited so long to read this series, but I'm so glad that I've read it now. Vampire Academy is one of the best series I've read this year, and I definitely recommend it to anyone who hasn't read it yet because it's amazing and you just have to read this series. I gave every single book in the series a 5 out of 5 stars, and overall it gets a 5 out of 5 stars because it was just amazing and I loved this series so much. So that was my series review for Vampire Academy by Richelle Mead. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I'll see you guys later. Bye everyone.